starters possibly playing on Thursday night?
Yeah, look, right now it's always a unique week right now, especially coming off of a joint practice into a Saturday game, into a Thursday game. And so we kind of took it as yesterday. Just we almost had like two separate teams in terms of guys played a lot of reps, and for them to turn around a day later, 2 days later, and get a lot of reps, I think is pretty hard, right? And so today is going to be kind of a similar type of thought process to get guys fresh for the game. There will be some guys that are starters that are going to be playing in the game. Who that is, that's going to be kind of a thing that we're going to talk to after today's practice.
Does it change your approach at all with how long of a layover there is between, it's kind of special circumstance this year, between that last preseason game and when the regular season starts? I think it's like 17 days in between.
Yeah, I think it can be. There's a huge benefit to it as well. I mean, it's always an eerie feeling when you walk out on the field, this weekend, and you see half your team not there, and then you start then kind of really, honing in on like who who you have, what you want to do with it. You got a lot of time to kind of sort through some things that your intentionality has changed to maybe a little more specifics than, hey, this is just what we need to focus on and work on. It's a third down day, those type of things. And, and then it's a great opportunity next week. We're going to have, 3 really good days of like, let's go, so that we're hitting the ground running coming into the regular season.
With Josh specifically, do you feel like you've seen enough from him, or you'd like him to get more game time? Like, how do you view where he is?
Josh will not be playing Thursday. Okay. No, I know. No, I think Josh is on a really good man. I love how he's spending it, how he's playing football right now, and he's obviously the leader of our football team, and he'll be right there with me. Hopefully, I'll let him call some plays. Maybe on Thursday. He wants it all the time, but Josh is in a really good place.
With that in mind, what went into the decision to play him in the first game versus like the second game, where obviously with the joint practice, but why play him like so early versus like maybe this Thursday?
I think there's a lot that kind of went into it. One, you knew with the joint practice, like he was going to get enough reps in that practice, assuming it went well, that you might not need to use them for the game. There's the other component is you get out there, you've been going through preseason, that first time getting out in the stadium and kind of doing all that and kind of getting that all out of the way with the mindset of waking up and being able to play. You never want injuries to happen. So obviously I was just probably like all of you guys in those moments, but when guys do play in week one, if something were to happen in week one, there is more time for recovery. So there's a lot that kind of goes into it, but I knew the first time us going to that stadium, I didn't want the first time him walking in there, and it was just walking in there just to kind of be there. I wanted him to kind of see himself kind of playing, and I thought he did a really good job with it.
Hey, Joe, Greg Gaines comes in, veteran guy. First of all, what do you like about the player? And then second of all, is he a guy that has to play Thursday because he's only been here for 2 weeks, or do you, as a vet, just sit him out?
Yeah, no, there's going to be vets. There's a lot of people that are, still fighting for roster spots. There's a lot of guys that have roster spots that, the reality of it is you can't sit every starter. You can't sit, we got to go out and play a football game, and things happen. Guys are going to be dressed that may not play, that just in case something happens, like there's a lot of reps out there. Like Greg had a practice in a game in a Buffalo Bills uniform before he ever had a practice here. But he went in, it's a scheme. It's schemes that he's been a part of, right? The position that he's played, knowing where his eyes need to be and how to strike, and it's just going through, getting back into it, right? He hasn't done that, and he hasn't had a training camp prior to this point. So would love to be able to get him out there and get him a lot of good reps today and get him out there on Thursday.
Joe, behind Josh, Kyle Allen's had a couple strong games. Have you made a decision on number 2 quarterback?
Yeah, you're going to see both of them on Thursday. I think both of them played really good football, and I have such confidence calling the game with them, knowing them. I've been with them for a while too. That makes my life a lot easier. And there's a lot of positions that we're not just taking just the game reps into consideration, like the practice as a whole, but I think both of them have gone out there and led us down the field and made really sound decisions, played clean football. I don't need them to be Josh Allen. I need them to play within the system. They've both done a really good job at that.
Joe, the last time you guys were in the stadium for practice, some of the players had concerns about the field. Do you have any concerns? Have you talked with them or anybody else about the
God bless you.
conditions and anything going forward?
No, I'm way more concerned about the product that we're putting out on the field over the, the field conditions, right? Like we have enough things for us to kind of go through, and I've felt it, through the preseason. We're going through a new stadium, operations, field, team. We're all figuring it all out, right? And so we have to make sure that the product on the field is where it needs to be, and everybody else will take care of it.
Joe, as you get near the end of your first training camp as head coach, can you just kind of reflect a little bit on just how you've managed the role of having to be head coach as opposed to offensive coordinator through these past 6 weeks, and how it's changed the way you do your job?
Yeah, probably haven't spent much time actually reflecting on it, right? You just kind of wake up and see what you need to get done. But I haven't felt like it's been anything too big or, man, I don't have enough time to get this done. And I feel like I've been able to spend time with the defense and special teams and still have a great feel for what we want to be offensively and being able to call it. And like I said, having Pete has made my life so much easier, and I can go some practices and calling it. Some practices I can roam around and let him kind of, man the ship. But haven't felt like anything has been whereas like, oh man, I wasn't prepared or ready for this. And again, I have a great coaching staff and players that make my life a lot easier.
Joe, from the grass perspective, and I know there's a break-in period that, we've been explaining how the correct grass is to grow and stuff like that. What about a player safety issue? I mean, what concerns might you have from a player safety issue that, the turf gives way or in that sense?
Yeah, if we're notified that, hey, it's kind of like any stadium. You can play at a stadium. There's going to be a lot of potential concerns about it. But if there was something that we didn't feel like it was safe for our guys to play, we wouldn't be on that. Look, there's been, it's part of it, right? You'd much rather the grass than the alternative, right? And so I think that's why we've been going over there, is to get used to it and to get playing on it. Like, again, all of this has to be an advantage for us. And, I have full trust in, the other side of the building of them. They're all going to be doing what they have to do to make it where it's the best grounds in football.
Joe, you've been in the booth and you've been on the field. As Jim goes through his process here, how much do you kind of communicate with him, A, about your experiences, and B, what's best for the team?
Yeah, I think it's some of it is it's best for the team, but it's also best for the coach. There's a comfort level. I've had a lot of fun being down there. I've started sitting there, man, I wish I was down there a lot more, in the previous years. But yeah, I think it's all about what you need to see, what you need, and your coaching staff around you. When you're in the box, it's so much more controlled. In a preseason game, it's really hard to get a feel of it because you're not making adjustments. You're not, you're kind of just after a drive, you're trying to manufacture, hey, this is what we would kind of do right now, but you're really just like, hey, who's going to be playing the next drive? This is what we got to do. So it's hard to get a full, this is what the box is going to be like. Jim has had experience doing both, so I'm going to let him roll with it. Whatever he's comfortable with. If he needs to sit there and be able to look in the guy's eyes and be able to talk through it, I'm good with it. If he feels like he needs to be up there and want to see it from that perspective and be able to make the adjustments and not necessarily need some of the pictures or rely with people upstairs, I'm good with it, and that's been the communication we've had from the jump.
Hey, Joe, with Javon Solomon, that's a really crowded position over there. And I think we were kind of told that this defense would fit him better than the previous defense did. What are you seeing from him, and what is he going to have to do to make the team?
Yeah, Solly is it's a lot more natural position for him now, and the role that he's playing, being able to drop in coverage, be able to rush from the edge, be able to stand up. I think he has such a unique skill set because he can be an outside linebacker that can rush the quarterback, can drop in coverage, and then he's a very good special teams player. And so there's so much value in that, different than when you're just playing like a defensive end position, having to play 6 eyes and play inside in the C gaps. Solly's one of the strongest guys on our teams to be able to set the edge for the defense. It's going into this offseason, it was a lot of questions about that outside linebacker room just in general, and the depth that we've been able to add to it both in the draft and the free agency has made that one of the strengths of our team.
Joe, what did you see out of Skylar Bell yesterday, and where is he getting ready for the season after the season time?
Yeah, it was good to get him back out there. He was flying around. It was like anybody. Nobody wants to be injured, and everybody wants to. These days, sometimes you sit there in a training camp. Do you think a guy's been out for 5 weeks and it's been, 4 days sometimes. In his situation, he's been itching to get back out there. But I wanted to, when he got back out there, I was going to see the full version of him and not hey, is this going to be something where he's going to be laboring and we're not going to get him to be able to see what he did. I thought he had an outstanding offseason. The OTAs were, he stood out, and so I want to be able to see that. And so, he's going to be practicing there today, and with the hope that he's going to be out there on Thursday.
Where do things stand with the battle left guard with Allen and Austin?
Yeah, we're still no different than the quarterback position. We're right now not in a rush, feeling like, hey, it's something that we have to. Hey, we're naming things right now, and I like the competition. I like the guys being able to wake up and know that hey, regardless of anything, I'm going to just keep going. And so, all of them are, both Skylar, both Corbett and Alec, they're competing and they're going to be alternating in there, and we'll roll from there.
So you've spent more time with the defense and they've just had more time to install. What excites you the most about where this defense is at right now?
I love their personality. You can tell look, I speak about connection all the time, and I do feel that the coaches and the players are doing a really good job of emphasizing that. And you can see by the way that they play, the excitement that they have for one another, the connection that they have. You see, before they're going on the field, it's preseason too, and Bradley Chubb's bringing them all together and talking to them before the drive. And then when they get on the field, you can see their excitement for guys making plays, and they're celebrating each other's success. So to me, they have the right mentality about how they're going about it. And there's a lot of versatility to it. And so I think that needs to be an advantage for us going into the season. There's a lot of personnel groupings, a lot of different ways to get guys on the field, move things around that should put a lot of stress on opposing offensive coordinator, figuring out where guys are going to be and what personnels are going to be on the field while they're running said play.
With Skylar Bell, how do you weigh his recovery, wanting to see him against NFL competition versus where he is and maybe how the whole room is in terms of a lot of guys being banged up?
You're saying with these rest of these days, or just in general?
Get it for Thursday night.
Yeah.
Will he play?
Yeah.
And you said you'd like for him to, but how do you weigh that decision, meaning he's a little banged up, so is your room.
Yeah.
He's a little banged up.
Yep.
And wanting him for week one maybe is more important than just what goes into that.
Yeah, I think there's the component of wanting guys out there to, play football and get in the stadium and go through this. No different than, Josh Allen. And so Skylar hasn't had that opportunity yet. And so, but there's also, today's going to be a hard practice. And so I also want to make sure that, we're progressing as a football team while also getting guys ready to go for the game. And that's where you're trying to balance in two different things. And so the full intent is he's going to be playing on Thursday. And we'll see kind of how it goes about, this practice with the amount of reps that he's getting. But, I would love to be able to see him in, live competition.
Joe, was Terrell Bernard's absence yesterday injury related?
Yes.
Okay. Considering his history from last year, is there any concern?
No, I think he's in such a good place mentally. There's some guys right now that the focus is making sure that they're ready to go for week one. Terrell Bernard is not a guy necessarily fighting for a roster spot. He's a leader of our defense and a starter, and I think he's in a really good headspace. He wants to get out there, and sometimes it's keeping him from himself. And so, but no, TB's going to be good to go.
Joe, where's Michael Hoyt in his ramp up for the season? Will we see him like Thursday night?
Yeah, he's the whole intent, the ramp up all along has been him continuing to get a lot of reps, and I think he's in. Look, I'm obviously I was never even athletic enough to hurt an Achilles, but to see how fast his recovery has been and the way that he's attacked it and going out on the field and seeing some of the movements, I mean, he should be a very, very productive football player for us, and so we've been very intentional about what we've done with him. And again, he's going to take a lot of reps today, and then we'll talk after practice. But I know he's a guy that would love to get out there and get on the field and be able to get some contact and hit on Thursday. And it's a matter of, is that the best thing for him as we kind of come away from today?
Joe, what are you looking for in your punt return? And how much of that communication is with Jeff and what he wants?
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors. The number one thing is I want the ball back, right? And that's I know that sounds like that's not a big deal, but that's a huge component, is right. We have to be able to win fourth down. In order to win fourth down, we got to get the ball back to the offense. And so That's such an easy thing, but that's a really hard thing to do. And then it's about us making great sound decisions with that, right? And I'm not necessarily saying we need a guy that's going to score a touchdown every time he touches the ball, but is he going to consistently make sound decisions and be able to get the ball back to the offense? And I think we have a group of guys that are still kind of competing for that. And it's hard to get, they're also catching 2 different punters. And so that's been really beneficial to us, just the different type of styles. And it's hard to get a lot of reps. And so we can't, just like we couldn't manufacture some of the punts, it's hard to manufacture some punt returns in the game on Thursday, but I'm hoping that we'll get some of those opportunities to be able to, for someone to be able to kind of take that and run with it.
Joe, Jim said that he called this week the hardest week in the NFL. Obviously, you've been around it before.
Yeah.
You've been in this position. What has it been like for you?
Yeah, it's not easy at all. It's harder now as the head coach, because before it was really hard on me for the 40 guys I was coaching. Now it's the 90, and I don't take what I do lightly, and what the work that these guys do for me lightly. And that's why I've always struggled. You guys have heard when people say it's just a preseason game, or especially preseason 3, when it's like, it's preseason 3. It's like, no, this is these guys' like lives, and some of these guys might not ever play football again. And so that's my job, is to give them everything that they got, going in there. And so that's part of the reason why we're doing some of these jog throughs for some of those guys, is so that they can, whether it's for the Buffalo Bills or for not, they're going to get to put their best performance out on the football field on Thursday. And so you're trying to balance get the Buffalo Bills continuing where they need to go with some of the guys that haven't got a lot of the reps, and then also getting these guys fresh to go. And no, it's not fun conversations. It's part of that comes with the job, but I owe it to those guys to give everything I got to let them go out and compete and be at their best on Thursday.
Joe, you've got some tough decisions coming with the reserve offensive line. It's a pretty deep group. How does a couple guys getting injured kind of change the whole topic of conversation around that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you never want injuries, but there's a body of work. None of these injuries are from a timetable that it's going to be out for, where should impact roster decisions. And, you try to take into consideration the body of work, and not just kind of, hey, where things are right now. And, excuse me, but I feel really good about our offensive line and the depth that we have, and the versatility of the guys being able to play inside and outside, guys that can play guard and center. Again, you always want your starters to roll, but there's a confidence level of knowing that you guys, guys in the back end that you're not going to blink if they have to go in.
Joe, where's CJ? And are you concerned at all that he and Cole haven't had as much probably time on the field together as you would want getting into the season?
Yeah, I don't know if concern is the right word, but the reality is you're in a new defense, and you got CB, between Maxwell, Cole, and CJ, you haven't had some of your starters in there on a consistent basis. And, but they've played a lot, like CJ's played a lot of football, and it's like, all right, well, we can't control, them being out on the football field right now with some of the injuries, but how do we manufacture, and it's really just the communication, right? We know they all can play the techniques and whatnot. It's like, hey, what are they all on the same page, speaking both verbally and non-verbally? We're going to play on the road, and then we're going to play Thursday night at home, and it's going to be loud. And do they have the body language to speak to each other and be able to understand what that means? And so that's why we do all these jog throughs at the end of practices. That's why we have the intentionality is for these guys to go in there and to be able to hear them kind of talking and doing some of those things. They've been really intentional about doing extra on their own. Yeah, it's not live. There is something about being able to go out there, and I don't want to say it's a concern, but obviously you wish, you had all those guys out there. But, I'm sure you guys have probably heard from CJ once or twice, and he'll be ready to go.
Do you feel Ty Johnson will be ready for the regular season start?
Yeah, Ty, the recovery with everybody, like we said, we have plenty of time before this first game, and I'm learning all of these guys, but Ty went from not walking to now he's running. So, I feel like he's in a good headspace and a good mindset, and it's, we'll just kind of see what that's going to look like from as we were going into game week. Thanks, guys.